All right. Well, I know we have a lot of content to cover in just 60, well, now 59 short minutes. So I want to make sure we are able to get to all that content for you. Awesome attendees here. So hi, everyone. Officially, welcome to What is ChatGPT and Why Should I Care? Brought to you by the Alameda County Workforce Development Board. My name is Anna Manzano. I am the digital media and event strategist here at the California Employers Association. Before we officially begin today's webinar, I have just a couple details to go over with you. Today's training format, a little bit different than we normally do. So today is designed as more of a roundtable discussion, as Kim mentioned a few minutes ago. So there will be definitely several opportunities to engage directly today. This is a really awesome opportunity for you. You can turn on your video, you can unmute, you can engage in the chat, whatever your comfort level is today. Handouts for this training, those were sent in yesterday's reminder email. If for some reason you need them resent, maybe they ended up in spam, please put your email into the chat box and I'll get those over to you shortly. And then lastly, we have a survey. I promise it's super exciting and super quick, but because your feedback is very important to us, there will be, after you close out today's Zoom window, a window will pop up in your browser, and it is a 2 to 3 minute survey, just a couple of questions, and that feedback that you share with us really allows us to continue to develop and improve these trainings and our overall kind of suite of resources that we offer to you through CEA, and then we share with our workforce development partners like Alameda County. So again, today's training is sponsored by Alameda County Workforce Development Board. There will be a slide coming up shortly that will give you more information about how to utilize those resources, how to interact with them, and how to best contact them to take advantage of all these things. So thank you to the Alameda County team for bringing this all to you today. And now I have the great privilege of introducing our speakers. Today we have Kim Guzman, our president and CEO, and Eli Nunez, our HR director here at California Employers Association. So I know we have a ton of information to cover. So Kim, it is all yours.
Thank you so much, Anna. Looks like we got about a dozen or so people on, and we are recording this today because Alameda likes to put this on their website so people can look at this later on. And I want to also introduce Natalie Jimenez, who's our Director of Business Development. So she's also on and joining us today. You can talk to us by chat. You can talk to us using the Q&A. You can unmute yourself and just jump into the conversation. This is designed to not just be a traditional webinar, but as Anna said, to be a roundtable discussion. And I like this topic and I like this title because this is a conversation for us. What is ChatGPT? Why should I care? Why should we pay attention? And so today is going to be about 30 minutes of information. So for those of you who know virtually nothing, this is hopefully a very good introduction. For those of you who have been using ChatGPT, I'm going to want to hear from you on how you're using it and what's been successful and some of the pitfalls you may have already learned. I will also be sharing some best practices as far as policies and procedures and things like that. And then the second half is going to be playing around. So really, again, 30 minutes of information. And then 30 minutes of let's really play with it. Let's see what it can do. Let's just ask real life questions in real time and learn together. Because by no means am I the expert or is Eli the expert. Again, this is brought to you, thank you, to Alameda County Workforce Development Board. And you have not only this presentation and several others throughout the year, but you have an HR hotline. So this is a reminder that anything you have a question about today or anything in the employee life cycle, that's where we really are the experts, which is California HR employment law. So if you have questions about remote workers or COVID or hiring or firing or leave laws or the fact that this new FAST Act for people in the fast food industry are going to have new $20 an hour minimum wages in April, and the rest of California minimum wage goes up to $16. And oh, wait, paid sick leave is going from 3 to 5 days in January. All those are the kind of questions that can be handled for you on the HR hotline. So don't be shy. It's your taxpayer dollars at work. Write this number down and have this at your fingertips so you can call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 and get questions. And you might say, well, why is CEA doing this? Why did Alameda partner with you? Well, because we've been around since 1937 and our whole mission statement as a 501c6 trade association is to provide you the employer, with peace of mind. There's a whole lot of resources out there for employees. We are specifically here as California employment and labor law experts to help you, the employer, navigate the confusing laws of California and managing all those employee headaches. We aren't attorneys, although we do have attorneys on our team. We aren't attorneys. So if you need a legal opinion, you should go get an attorney for a legal opinion, but we are here to talk with you about best practices. We will help give you advice, support. We will help work with you on how to navigate the law. But at the end of the day, you're the employer. You make the call, you make the decisions, and we're here to help you weigh the pros and the cons and reduce your liability. So let's get to what we want to talk about, which is ChatGPT. And it helps me if I understand the audience. I've given this several times, and sometimes everybody raises their hand that they have their own ChatGPT account, and sometimes nobody raises their hand. So I am curious whether you have gone on to OpenAI. So an AI, of course, is artificial intelligence, and set up your own ChatGPT account under your own email. So we're going to put up a poll here. Anna's going to put up a poll for us. And I'd like you to say either, yes, you have your own, or no, you don't. And again, that just helps us know as we go along how many people do. So right now, what I'm looking at, it's changing as we go. Changing. A couple more people still need to weigh in. Still waiting on a couple more of you. Right now, it's showing me that 57% of you have your own account and 43% do not. So that's kind of good, because then hopefully those of you who do have it can participate later on and can show us and tell us what your experiences have been, because that's the best way to learn is from your peers. So that is, let's see here. I'll share those results. Everybody got a chance to see those. And we will stop. All right. Now, one more question, and this is just for a few of you, because again, we've just got about a dozen of you on, although 22 signed up, we got about a dozen on right now. And for those of you who have your own ChatGPT account, if you can tell us kind of what you generally seem to use it for, if it falls into one of these 4 categories, or maybe it's all of the above. Writing, research, ideas, or is it just for personal use? I'm curious about that. Okay. A little bit. So about 80% said I use it for all of the above. So writing, research, ideas, personal use, 80% of you use it for everything, which is terrific. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways to get us kicked off here are, let me stop sharing that, sorry, is that if you can use it for everything, personally and professionally, and it's not going to go away, because Google never went away, right? The internet never went away. Things that we get, remote work came, didn't go away. So the same thing goes for ChatGPT. Why should you pay attention? Because it's here to stay, and it's only growing, and there's only a whole lot of copycats coming out. We're going to talk about all the different copycats on one slide here today too. So let's talk about, for those of you, the half of you who are listening that are really like, yeah, I've heard it, I've seen it on the news, I've read it in a newspaper, but I really still don't get it. What is it? Tell me really what it is. And what's funny is when I developed this PowerPoint, it's been about, gosh, probably 8 months now ago. I was like, I don't even know what it is. You know, we're all learning. And so I said to ChatGPT, I set myself up an account, and I said, tell me, what is ChatGPT? And this slide here is what ChatGPT said it is. It said that I am an AI, artificial intelligence powered chatbot, and that I was developed by OpenAI. Sam Altman, who was a prior CEO of Reddit, is who started this, by the way. And it's based on generative pre-trained transformer language. So what happens is it is not smart. You know, it really is not intelligent. It doesn't have ideas of its own. It is stealing and taking things off the internet based on what you and me and everybody else in the world puts out in the public domain. So just like you go to Google and you say, I need a recipe for this or that, and it pulls you different articles and you can go find them, and some might be paid and ads and some might not. ChatGPT is gathering everything that's out in the public domain and it's taking it. What it's also doing though is it's constantly learning. It's constantly learning anything that it gets put into it. The other thing that is, we're going to talk a little bit about good and bad. This was built in 2021. So the data is only up through 2021. Now, ChatGPT is free, but there are other iterations of this where you can pay for, which has more real-time data. And we'll just talk about some of the other things like Bard that do have real-time data. But one of the downsides is that ChatGPT is really powered with information up through 2021. The thing that is also very unique about it and why it was so groundbreaking is because of the human-like responses that it gives. So when you ask it something like, I'd like a joke about such and such, tell me a joke, it will talk to you like a friend. It would say, oh, sure, here's something for you. You know, it doesn't sound like a robot. And that's making people nervous. And it's also what's so innovative and new about it. So again, why do we need to care? Because it's changing how we interact with technology because of those human-like responses and because it is used in everyday life. Now, Mark Cuban, who owns the Dallas Mavericks, I thought this was great. He said, my 13-year-old just asked ChatGPT to write a trash talk about his buddy's favorite NFL team and texted that trash talking that ChatGPT gave him to his friend. Things have changed forever. I have used ChatGPT to help me put my thoughts into words on a letter that I had to write to somebody who'd lost somebody very close to them. And I was so overcome, I didn't know how to say, I'm sorry for your loss, but say it the way I wanted to say it. So I entered in how I was feeling, and ChatGPT put it into a much more beautiful way to put on a card. I've used ChatGPT to write checklists at work, to set up agendas at work, to help with onboarding at work with new employees. You can use it to help you create a dinner recipe, birthday game ideas for your child. I mean, it is all over. You know, there is no end to how you can use ChatGPT. And so when you have something this monumental that is changing the way we do things and saving us time and saving us energy and almost becoming a personal assistant, you need to pay attention. And if you're not paying attention, other people are, and they're using it. And you don't want to be the dinosaur who is left behind as technology races ahead. So it's important to know what it is and learn about it. So I applaud you, if you didn't know much about it, to just being here today. The other reason that it's so impressive is how long it took to get 1 million people like ourselves here to be using it, right? So with Netflix, everybody's like, oh, I love Netflix. We all have Netflix. Did you see this show on Netflix? But it took 3.5 years to have 1 million people subscribing to Netflix, which is mind-blowing considering ChatGPT in 5 days had 1 million people. I mean, that's astounding to me. I mean, that's really a mind blower. Bigger mind blower, update. Within 2 months of ChatGPT being out, 100 million people were using it. So once again, I will go back to why should you care? Because 100 million other people are using this. And it's your employees that are using it. It's your friends that are using it. Your kids are probably using it. Job seekers who are looking to work for you are using it. So you need to understand the basics behind it. You don't have to be a pro by any means. Lord knows I'm not, but just be aware and be learning.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kim. I mean, the number of users just keeps growing. I think as of August or September, there was 180 million users for ChatGPT already. So that number just keeps growing, exponentially as we go on.
So you mean I need to update this slide again?
No, it's a changing number. I mean, this is a good benchmark for just, it's good to visit that the number just keeps growing and growing. It's not
That's
something that's going
great.
away, like you said.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I love that. And again, I just updated that slide like 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, it is fast. So I appreciate that. That's a great point. And the other thing is somebody talked with me recently and said, I heard your presentation a month ago, but you didn't even talk about Bard, Google Bard. And I was like, well, I'm just trying to wrap my head around ChatGPT. I'm not trying to be the expert, but so before today, I went and I looked up what are the ChatGPT copycats. And you'll see here at the bottom of the slide is where I got my information. But they have the top 11 alternatives to ChatGPT that you should know about. And the other interesting thing in doing this that I found out was how many there are. I've heard of Bard. I haven't heard of any of these other ones. So maybe, has anybody else heard of these 11? Or anybody heard of anything that's not on here that they're using besides any of these, besides ChatGPT or Bard? If you do, feel free to unmute and jump in the conversation, or use the chat or the Q&A to let us know your thoughts. The other thing that I think is very interesting is you can go on to your Apple Store if you happen to have an iPhone, and there are a whole lot of paid options. Now, again, this is free. ChatGPT is free, but there are a lot of other apps you can download, and those cost money. Some of them were like $69 a year. Some of them were $6 a month. Some of them were just 60 cents just to get the app. So the prices are all over the place. But the one I just wanted to focus on that I do hear about the most is Google Bard. And so Bard is built for research. So I guess when they built Bard, one of the things is, first of all, the data is real time. And that's a big difference from ChatGPT. ChatGPT, as I mentioned, if you're just joining us now, it was with data up through 2021. And a lot has happened, right, since 2021. So Google Bard, which I have not used yet, but I've read up on it, is going to be real time. It was built for research. It was built for science papers. It was built for its coding ability. And whereas ChatGPT was really designed to help predominantly more with writing jokes, as we talked about, writing newsletter articles, writing blogs, writing any kind of content. So according to this article here, the biggest differentiator is ChatGPT is really about helping you with writing, and Bard is really more about analytics and data and research. Anybody have any experience with Bard that they want to share with the group? We've got a few more people who have joined us. Thank you. Okay, so we have a shy group. So let's talk about, for those of you who are on here that really don't know much about ChatGPT yet, and or have not yet had an opportunity to sign up for your account, and we're going to show you today how to get your own account. And again, that is free. It really can be used at work in so many ways. I will agree that when it comes to data analysis, while it can analyze large amounts of data and give you some recommendations and insights, you can dump a lot of information into it and it will feed you back its own data analysis. It's not really as great with Excel and things like that as it is with Word docs. And I think that's what they were explaining between the Bard and the ChatGPT. For me personally, and again, I would love to hear from you, the biggest help it has been in sales and marketing, because again, that's where we're talking about content creation. And so, for example, you might say, I want to write an article about climate change. Please help get me started. Boom. Within a second, I mean, literally probably less than 1 second, it will spit out to you and push to you an entire article about climate change. Now, is it accurate? No, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's one of the problems with artificial intelligence, is trying to verify the data. You could even ask ChatGPT, where'd you get your sources? And it will tell you what its sources are, but those are not always accurate. And I'm going to show you some examples of that soon. But if you've got writer's block, this is a great tool to kind of get you going. Maybe you've got a description of something you're doing, a description of a policy you're putting together, a description of a procedure, or a description of a webinar. You can put into ChatGPT what you currently have and say, make it sound better. And it will spit back to you a better version of what you just entered into it. And the difference between that and what you would do in Google or on the internet is that you would be saying, for example, give me an article on climate change, and then you will have 30 choices, and now you got to go in and read each one. ChatGPT is pushing and delivering the information right to you as opposed to you having to pull the data down. You can also use ChatGPT to help you create chatbots on your website. So it can help you with coding behind the scenes. It can, and again, a chatbot is really just there to answer your questions, right? So it can do that for you. It can help you make reports. You know, you can say, you can enter in, here's all this data. Please give me a summary and a report of all this data. And it will give you back that information. It can also help you come up with ways to automate routine tasks such as data entry. And you literally just ask it, I need help with this. I'm trying to do this. Here's the information. How do I do that? And it will spit back answers to you. I mean, and we'll be playing with that very shortly. Again, I'm going to keep us on with 30 minutes of info and 30 minutes of playing. So because of what I've already shared so far, there are a lot of people, you may have read a lot of articles, people are very afraid of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in general. Is it going to take over the world? Is it going to reduce jobs for people? Is it going to take over the world? I sure hope not. Is it going to reduce some jobs? Yes, it probably will reduce some jobs. There are many small businesses that are going, I just don't have money for a marketing manager or a marketing assistant. Maybe I could use ChatGPT to help me with some blogs or with some marketing content. And it can, but it will also create new jobs. And it already has created new jobs on people who can help you navigate through the AI, can help you transform your work. And it also can take some of the mundane jobs and take those out of your way so that you have more time and energy to hire people in the areas where you really need humans, right? So there are great points about it, but yes, there are people have concerns about it. And as we talked about, writing content is probably one of the things that, according to Talent Survey, most people are using it for. But I think on here that what else is interesting is something like this one, navigating tough conversations. Have you ever, because it's a computer, right? Because it's not a real person, it doesn't have real feelings or emotions. So let's say that I've got to have a really tough talk with Natalie. And I don't like conflict. I don't know how to tell Natalie that, you know, she's just not showing up on time and it's causing this and that and the other. And I just don't know how to say that to her and feel comfortable about it. Or I'm writing her review and I don't know how to put those thoughts into words. You can take what you're thinking, type that into ChatGPT and say, put this in a way that I can put it on a performance review. Or how could I talk to an employee about XYZ? And boom, it will spit you back the way to have a difficult conversation with somebody, which is a fabulous way for you even just to kind of walk through and practice with yourself different ways to say things. And it really works quite well. We can practice that at the end here too and kind of see what it comes up with. You could also say, I've got these 10 things to do, and can you help me prioritize these? You know, and you could also dump information in and say, listen, I've got a job description for a data analyst, and here's the description. And I've got 3 resumes, and you want to scrub those resumes of any kind of confidential information. We'll talk about that in a moment. But here's person A, here's person B, and here's person C who have all applied for this job. Who do you think is the best one? And ChatGPT is taking all emotion out of it. Now, would that be your be-all, end-all for a decision at work? I would say absolutely not. But it could be one factor. If you're really toggling between 2 people and you don't want your emotion in it, you just want what's on paper to help sell one person. You can use it for that. So it's fascinating to use, and especially we are the experts when it comes to human resources. This is where ChatGPT can really save you time and energy. I see there's a couple chats. Anything I need to stop on, Eli, before I move on?
Nothing right now. Just a couple of people, mentioning some of the uses for it, or that they haven't really used it before. So, it's good that we're having this webinar to kind of introduce people to it.
Great, great. So this is kind of just a quick snapshot of how you can use ChatGPT in HR. And it is amazing. We all have these onboarding programs, probably. I hope you do. When you have a new hire, you onboard them. But how often do you update that, right? How often do you change it up? So you could take your current onboarding process. You could go to OpenAI, which we'll show you at the end here. You can feed in, here's our current onboarding process. What am I missing? Or what I did is I said, please give me an onboarding process for a new employee. Boom, it spit out 18 ideas, thorough steps on what I ought to do when a new employee starts working at CEA. And I was blown away by how many things it had that I had never thought of. And so you can use it in all these different areas. And we'll show you some of those. This is another quick snapshot. I don't want to hit each one of these because I don't want to, you can read this later on and you have a copy of these, but look at the different things from creating a job description. Who in their right mind enjoys creating job descriptions? None of us. But you can take what you've got already and dump it in there. Or you can say, I need a job description for a warehouse worker. And then it spits it out to you, compare it against what you've got, create a whole new one, take what you like, leave the rest. You know, it just takes a lot of the headache out of starting a project, I will say for me. I've had employees that are the best salespeople in the world on the phone, but when it comes to writing an email, they couldn't write an email to save their lives. I've had employees who said, I'm so dyslexic, I have problems writing. But this solves that problem because they can type their thing in and ChatGPT will find you can use it as a spell checker. You can put in what you have. You can say, here's what I was going to do. Spell check it, write it better, and send it back to me. And in seconds, it gives you a better email than you would have ever written, a job offer letter, whatever it might be. So again, it can enhance the workforce you have and make people stronger and better and give them a resource tool they never had. Maybe they never had their own personal assistant. I never have, but now I do. So variety of different wonderful things that this can do for you. Again, in the recruiting part I talked about, you can even have it say, what should our recruiting strategy be? We're in the XYZ industry and we're having trouble finding workers. What would be ideas on where we could recruit? And it will give you ideas you may never have thought of. If you've already thought of them, what did it take? It didn't cost you but a second to look at the list, but it might just get you thinking in new ways. It could ask you, you can say, hey, I need new interview questions for my sales manager. And I want them to be behaviorally based and I want them to focus on problems that they've come across in the past. And it will give you new job interview questions. Now, when it comes to any recruiting, beware, right? Because we already know that there's a lot of lawsuits out there if people are asking questions that are discriminatory or biased. And so you want to make sure that whatever it gives you, you've also looked it over. You don't just accept it at face value, but you can have it, help you with those interview questions. But I have seen situations where it's giving either inaccurate information or it's giving you things you shouldn't ask if you're an employer in the state of California, because it's no longer okay to ask about somebody's salary history, for example. But you can say to somebody in California, what are you looking for a salary range? You can ask questions like that, but you can't say, what were you making in your prior job? But 2 years ago, you could ask that question. And so guess who's going to give you the wrong information on some of that? ChatGPT, because back in 2021, you might have been able to ask that question. So you got to be very careful. The other thing is I mentioned that ChatGPT is gathering stuff, right, off of open sources. So you do not want to be, if you're assessing candidates, if you're going to go ahead and feed information in, you don't want to feed any private data or confidential data into it, because once you do, it's out in the universe. And for example, Samsung had employees who were looking at a different way to do a procedure at work. And they typed in, this is the procedure we follow at Samsung, blah, blah, blah. They cut and pasted their whole procedures and dumped it in so they could get a new way to solve a problem. Well, ChatGPT gave them the answers to solve this problem, but it also now had all of Samsung's proprietary information that was now all over the web. Those employees were fired, but they were fired because they had a policy that said you're not supposed to be using ChatGPT and putting anything into it that's confidential or proprietary information. So you've got to scrub data that you enter in there. Now, there are also what are called safe sandboxes, where you can get a ChatGPT or something like that, a copycat, where you can enter data in. It gives you data back, but it's a safe sandbox. It's a wall, like a firewall between your company and the outer web world. So you have to buy those. They're generally between $500,000 to $1,000 a month. So if you look up safe sandboxes, then you can be sold a software platform that allows you to gather information, use it internally, but doesn't share it with the outside world. And then you don't have to scrub. I mentioned earlier the onboarding. When I asked for onboarding and I said, hey, I need an orientation program for new hires. Again, it threw out 18 different things I should do. These were just some of the 6 that it spit out immediately. And like I said, there were things I don't assign a mentor. And okay, maybe I should do that. So it gives you things to think about. Do I talk about the goals and expectations on somebody's first day of work? I really don't. I'm doing all the paperwork, right? But I thought I do need to incorporate, here's how you'd know if you're successful in this role. Here's what I'm expecting out of you. Things like that I hadn't thought to bring in. And what about, hey, we're all going to do a happy hour, or hey, we've got an open house, or we've got, every Christmas we go down to the food bank and we do one day, social activities that might help somebody. So all kinds of good things. And again, I mentioned in the beginning, you're using this and so are your employees and so are job seekers. So I don't know how many of you saw this, but when was this? Let's see. This was in June of 2023 on TikTok. A woman named Leah Graham went on there and she was sharing all these little TikTok videos. It was a series of 3 she had done that said, this is how I'm using AI and specifically ChatGPT to land a job for myself. And she was basically taking job descriptions in, whatever it was, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Craigslist, whatever she was using. She would download the job description that she was applying for. She would put that into ChatGPT and she would say, I want you to, and then here's my resume, here's the job description, customize my resume, customize a cover letter for me for this job. And every single position she applied for, she got an offer for. She got an interview for. And she landed 3 job offers in just 10 days using that. And so that has gone viral because, again, why not? That's a great idea. You don't want to redo your resume for every single job, but hey, ChatGPT can do it for you in about 2 seconds. Again, I would say don't put your real name out there. Don't put your real job. So you might say person ABC and job number 2, but that's up to you. So your employees may be looking for jobs and using it right now. And we're going to talk at the end about, should you allow your employees to be using this at work? And if you do, what safeguards should you put in place? ChatGPT is wonderful for performance management. You can help tell somebody, how they're doing in a way that really just comes across so professional. If you feel like, I want to say more than you're just a team player, Anna. I want to see more than just, hey, Anna, I love how you do these webinars. I really want to put some meat around that. And it can give you just fabulous talking points to use when you do a performance review for somebody, whether it's the pros or the cons of how that person's doing. And the same thing for engagement and retention. Hey, I've got 15-year employees. I want them to stay for another 15 years. What can I do for employee engagement? It can give you all kinds of wonderful ideas around recognition programs, things to ask you to look at your culture, ways for people to grow within the organization. It's just phenomenal. And again, we talked about buyer beware. When you're working on policies and procedures, which this is also a good starting point for compliance and policies and procedures, you've got to remember, if you're using ChatGPT, the data could be outdated and or outrightly wrong. So this is a perfect example. About 6 months ago, I typed in, what is California's current state minimum wage? And you see here this little red box that says KG for Kim Guzman. That's what it looks like when you're looking at ChatGPT, and we'll show you that one at the end here. And then this little kind of Tiffany blue gear shift this is my reply in red, and this is ChatGPT, my question in red, ChatGPT's reply in this kind of teal color. So I said, what's California's current state minimum wage? I just wanted to know what it would say. And look what it told me. As of January 1, 2023, it's $14 an hour, blah, blah, blah. Totally wrong. This is totally wrong information. So I find it very interesting that it started the sentence with as of January 1, 2023, because the answer is 1550, right? Not these numbers. We don't even do it based on 25 and 26 anymore. That was old data. So you've got to really, when you're talking about specific compliance or policies and procedures in your state, because there may be some of you that are out of state on here today that happen to have a facility in Alameda, you've got to be really careful that you check the data. You've got to be very careful about the security. You've got to make sure there's no discrimination. I mean, even things like people use kind of what's called Profiles International and other kind of assessments when they're interviewing people. Like, before you start, I'd like you to take this assessment test to learn about you. There have been many big companies like Target and so on that have shown that there are bias in those different assessments. So there may be bias in some of the things you're getting out of ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is getting their information from the web. And that means it's getting true information and it's getting wrong information. So it's very important that you are just being aware of what you're getting. I consider it kind of a starter dough a lot of times. It's helping me get started, but it's not doing the whole job for me. And that's a good thing, right? Because we still need us. We still need humans. We are not going to be taken over by computers. Hopefully we can harness them and utilize what they have to give us. So be careful, but I would advise you to create some type of a policy around artificial intelligence or ChatGPT or Bard or whatever it is you want your employees to use, if anything, and have it be very similar to your current policies, which talk about, we don't want plagiarism here, right? So you probably already didn't want plagiarism even before ChatGPT came along, when somebody was writing newsletter articles or blogs for you. You still don't want it. You still have to worry, and even more so now, about copyright infringement. Because if I said, give me a poem about the sunset, and it spits me a poem from a famous poet that I don't even maybe know about, and now I take that poem and use it as is, if I'm going to use it as is, I do need to say this is coming directly from ChatGPT on at whatever today's date it is. So if you're going to use something exactly without changing one thing, you need to say, and this has already been in lawsuits, that you got that information from ChatGPT. That will cover you. If you're going to use it and add your own spin to it and add some other information to it, great, because now that's not plagiarism. Now you're taking that from 3 or more different areas. But again, you're going to want to verify it. You want to also say in your policy, what am I letting people use this for? Is there anything I don't want them to use it for? You got to clearly state, I do not want any private information about any people or anything about my company to get out, unless, again, I have this safe sandbox idea where I can do that if my company has that safe sandbox policy. And employees may start asking you for remember those 11 different things I've never even heard of. So all of a sudden, people might not just be asking you about ChatGPT, but about Bard and about open this and open that. And, so you need to start thinking about a living, breathing document that can be changed and how you're going to evaluate new systems to be used in your company. Get your management team together. So I want to take a breath because we're at 10:40, so we really only have 20 minutes left. I want to stop on this slide. Is there anything we need to add here, Eli, before we let everybody know how to set up their account and we start playing?
Nothing in the chat really. I mean, I would just reiterate again, just verify all the information. I mean, we play around with it in the office. We ask it human resources related questions, like, what are the requirements for CFR and that sort of thing. And to this day, we're still getting answers that are not 100% accurate. So if that's, make sure you're not just relying on AI for legal matters or that sort of thing, because I think we've all heard the horror stories, right? We heard the stories about the lawyers that decided to use it to write case briefs or something, and they ended up basically getting laughed out of court because it was so inaccurate. So just as with anything else, when you get data, make sure you're verifying it and that it truly reflects what it needs to.
Excellent. So here is the easy steps to go ahead and get yourself an account with ChatGPT. Before we click off of this and I share my own screen with OpenAI, just a quick poll to find out whether you agree that you should allow your employees to use ChatGPT at work. Do you agree with that? True, false? I have no idea. Would be C. You know, you're just not sure because this is all just like you're drinking out of a fire hose right now. Because again, it can really enhance things. And then it can also get you into trouble. So we got about 50% of the folks so far that are responding. Not everybody's responding, but still sitting at about 50% who say, I'm not sure. 33% say true. Now it's up to 40% who say true. Still 50%, I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and end that. All righty. And I agree. It's okay to not be sure. It's totally fine, but it's a conversation to start. You can certainly talk with your IT team or your IT outsource team if you're just a very small company. Talk with your management team, and maybe that's only 2 of you. Doesn't matter. Talk about the pros, the cons, who should be allowed to use it. If we're going to let anybody use it, I would really encourage some kind of a policy around it. And then really talking about the fact that this is not the be all end all. This is not the utopia of everything, but it sure could make life a lot quicker and easier and give you a hand. It's powerful, but has serious limitations. It's already disruptive. You know, it says there's huge potential for disruption in the HR. It's already been there. I need to change that slide. And it's not just this industry, it's every industry. Every single industry is being disrupted, as we know. And that's why a lot of people are even striking. They are worried about losing their jobs. They are. But you know what? I think we were worried about that when automation came in way back in the day. We were worried about the, you know, what about buggies and carriages when cars came along? It is technology. It is not leaving. It is going to continue to disrupt all of these industries. So we've got to learn how to embrace it and use it and let us try and have the tiger by the tail. So keep learning, keep joining, you know, probably webinars like this and others that really take you farther down. So I want to go try it out. And I just want to again remind you, look at it, it even tells you on ChatGPT that, hey, there's some limitations here. We may occasionally generate incorrect information. Now, I have never been able to get ChatGPT, and I want to try today again. In all the times I've talked about it and used it, it's still, when I say, who's the CEO of California Employers Association, it never tells me it's me. And I'm like, I've been in this role for 21 years. So why it can't get that right, I don't know. But it's just amazing. There are plenty of limitations, but yet so many exciting capabilities and so many creative things it can do for you and really help you with something like your 10-year-old's birthday, or something really, in my mind, difficult, like how do I make a HTTP request in JavaScript? That's so far out of my league, I wouldn't even know what to do. But it's amazing that it's there. So I want to stop sharing now. And I want to share my other screen, which shows you my ChatGPT. And make sure you can all see that. Okie dokie. And what I want to show you here is, and again, feel free to interrupt, jump in the chat, unmute, whatever you want. On the left-hand side, what's interesting is it'll show you what you've been using. So it's keeping tabs, right? Everything I do on here. Big Brother knows, Big Brother is watching, right? So anything I look up is on here. And so recently I was looking up different titles we're creating a compliance package for out-of-state employers. So I was typing in, what are some other titles for California compliance package? And then I wrote some articles about childcare and remote work, and I wanted to find out more data. And then I looked at more things about remote workers, and then there was an I-9 form. So you can see all the different things that I have used this for. And it saves it. Now, that's one question I have is, I don't know how long it saves it, but you notice it tells me it wants me to upgrade to Plus. Upgrade to Plus, which I have not done, it will cost me. And so again, it may be that at some point ChatGPT costs me too. But right now, we're in a world where ChatGPT is free, so play with it for free while you can. So I'm going to put in just that first question I had to show you how it works for a question. So if I said, who is the current CEO of California Employers Association? and do that. Let's just see how fast. So first of all, I want you to just notice how quickly. So this says, this is now telling me, before it would give me somebody's name that I don't even know. Now it's saying, I'm sorry, I don't have access to real-time information. So every time I've asked it, it tells me in a different way, but usually it gives me the wrong name. So now it's not even giving me names anymore. It's telling me to go visit the website. So that's an interesting thing. Now, what if I said, I need an agenda for my staff meeting, okay, today? Notice I'm not putting in periods or question marks or anything like that. And look at how fast it is populating an agenda for me. Okay, we're already on item number 7 or 8 or 9, and I'm not even done having my sentence here. So let me go to the beginning of this so you can see it. Remember we talked about how it's friendly. Certainly I can help you. You know, I'm surprised it doesn't say my name, Kim, in there. That would really scare me. But certainly I can help you create a sample agenda for your staff meeting. Now keep in mind, I mean, the thoroughness is what blows me away, right? Keep in mind that the specific items may vary depending on the nature and goals of your meeting. But here's a basic template. Terrific. And here it even gives me how much time I should spend on each thing, right? And it's giving me all this stuff. And so maybe I want to say, wow, this is a long meeting. Maybe I want to say, I only have 30 minutes. Let's see right now what it says. Okay, I didn't have to say I only have 30 minutes for my staff meeting. It's already continually going in a stream of consciousness off of what I already asked. I think that's another fascinating part. So I didn't say I only have 30 minutes. Can you please give me another one? I just said I only have 30 minutes. Boom. Okay, now it's rewritten one for me. It's still kept 5 minutes at the opening. Only giving me 7 bullets. Instead, I think there were 9 and 10. So amazing that. I need, let's see, I don't even say need, I'm giving it too much. How do I tell an employee that is showing up late, they are going to be fired if not on time? And again, I'm not really saying that grammatically good. I'm not using, but let's see. Look at this. I mean, now they're not just giving you something short, they're giving you a thorough response that gives you an opportunity to really think about what you want to do. 13 different points. They end by saying terminating an employee should be the last resort, which I would agree. But look at this. I mean, I just think it's beautiful. Choose the right time and place. Be prepared. Stay calm. Stay professional. Start with empathy. You know, state the issue. State your expectations. Listen. Discuss the consequences. So it really, to me, just helps me slow down and make sure I've thought through everything. Now, to this, you know, what you don't have here is anything about California laws, you know, and so that's where you really get into sticky situations. Is let's try something like terminating an employee in California. So let's see what it would tell us about that. And you see what you think of this one, Eli, here, and anything it may have forgotten or. Again, the speed is mind-blowing, how fast it's looking at, what it's thinking about. COBRA benefits, returning company policy.
Right. Final wages, of course.
And it says, you know, it gives itself an out, you know, legal counsel, use your applicable laws. But what I don't see here is things that we know are very specific in California, like it would depend on, did they just walk out the door? Did they give you 2 weeks notice? Are you giving, you know, are you firing them because they didn't show up to work for 3 days? Or are you firing them for poor work performance? So there's a lot of nuances that it does not capture, but it gives you a basic skeleton to go from. So I would say, you know, this is a B, but if you want to do it right and get an A or an A plus, you need to know California law. You need to talk to CEA. You need to call the HR hotline, the Alameda HR hotline, and get the details about, I'm firing somebody in California and I don't want to get sued. So what can I do to reduce my liability?
it's like with when you use it to write a policy, right? It'll give you the bones to it, the outline for it. But I mean, you definitely want to make sure you're double checking things in there just to make sure you're not missing anything or using outdated information.
Exactly. I need a job description for a warehouse worker, you know? So this is a great way to get you started, get things going. And sometimes I like, because it just, I know many of you, you've been doing this for years. You feel like I'm using the same role, I'm using the same words, same language. So it helps you mix it up, I love it. The ideal candidate will play a crucial role in ensuring the efficient and organized operation of our warehouse facility. That's beautiful, So there's times where it really just helps put a little finesse on things. And it might make you even go, oh, that's right. Why are we giving that to Bill or Mary or Joe? We ought to be giving it to Bob or Celia or Luis, So it's just got such great information. And again, I mentioned, look, it even talks about qualifications and physical requirements and your company benefits. I mean, you can ask it for something like, how about a joke? We did one. We have joke for Funeral Directors Association. Remember you did that, Natalie? So we had a meeting of funeral directors that we were at, and we wanted a joke. Why did the funeral director bring a ladder to work? Because they heard the business was always looking up. I mean, and some of these you'll have to look. Some may be tasteful, some may not be. But they even say, remember to use humor carefully, but maybe you need a joke to start off a speech. I need a speech for my friend's wedding. And I even spelled it wrong. Let's see how that goes. If it figured it out. Yep, it already figured it out for me. Here's a speech for my friend's wedding. So just the beauty of how much it can do is amazing. It just gives you different thoughts in different ways. And so I call it Starter Go. Is there anything anybody that's out there wants to share about what you've used it for, or a scary story, or anything else?
Well, one of the questions that came up in the chat, Kim, was about being able to use other languages for it. And yes, I mean, it is used worldwide. I've used it just in Spanish, just playing around, but I mean, you could use it for some translations or that sort of thing. And honestly, the translations from English to Spanish are pretty accurate and pretty conversational too, as opposed to some of the other software that's out there that we've used. So it really is impressive that way.
Excellent point. So you can say, welcome to our company in Spanish. How do I say that? Bienvenido a nuestra empresa. I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry, Eli, if I did.
You're good. No, that was pretty good.
And it does 35 different languages, in case you're questioning. Well, what about Japanese? So I think that is, and again, you need to be careful and make sure you have somebody, if you don't speak Japanese or Spanish, that you have somebody take a look. But, there it is. So they tell you how to write it and how to say it even. I thought that was kind of interesting. So it's just, I'll stop sharing unless somebody has something they want me to check out right now, the question. So here's a question I was wondering. Yeah, please do.
I can share what we do in our company. So since it's workforce development, you guys would be interested to know that I run a nonprofit called Mom Relaunch, where we nurture women who are on a career break to get back into the workforce. And we are using it in almost every capacity that we can, whether to prepare for mock interviews, for resume writing, for pretending how questions can be asked in an interview for the jobs that they're applying for. Many things that we are using. In fact, one of the other product that I mentioned that I'm working on creating and bringing experts and creating their digital avatars in their conversational AI, so they can learn from the people that they really want to learn from. So to improve the knowledge retention. So many applications on the HR side that we are using internally. And I would like to take a minute to see if any one of you would like to come and do a session like that in our Power Hour at Mom relaunch. That will be very helpful for showing a few more applications of it.
Yes, are you asking that you'd like CEA to come and talk with your group? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. You can shoot me an email if you'd like, and I can talk with you about that. I'd be happy to do that. It's my email is kguzman, KGUSMAN, kguzman at employers.org. I'd be happy to talk with you offline about that. That'd be great.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, again, we are in fact doing AI upskilling across all career tracks, not only ChatGPT, but everything that they can use for across every career, whether they are developers, whether they are marketers, sales, whatever they are, we are using all that.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any other shares as far as how you are using it or thinking about using
Yeah, I have a question. I don't see the raise hand. I'm looking for the raise hand here.
Oh,
Should I
you know
raise the
what? It's
hand?
okay. You don't even have to raise it. It should be at the bottom, but I do. Okay, I see you now. All right,
Okay.
Iris. Yes, yes. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It looked like you say I can't remember. You say this is the cost website, right? Is that the ChatGPT? How much is that for the?
ChatGPT is free.
Oh, okay.
Google Bard is also free
Okay.
currently, right now. I have typed in and said, will ChatGPT be free forever? And of course, I got a reply back saying, you know, while it's free now, we cannot guarantee that this will be forever be free. So, you know, it is free for now. Hopefully it always will be. They have ChatGPT Plus, which gives you more bells and whistles, and there is a cost to that. So, but right now, take advantage. And I hope ChatGPT is always free because it really can make your life a lot easier in a lot of ways.
Thank you.
Yes. So with just 2 minutes left, I just want to say, you know, thank you to Alameda County. Please, you know, call us on the HR hotline if you have questions about this, but anything HR related. You know, the employee life cycle has so many elements to it, from hiring to performance reviews and coaching and training and ending the employment relationship and investigations. We do it all. We're here to help you. It's no cost to you. It's your taxpayer dollars at work. So thank you to Alameda County on that. And I like what you said there about, you know, if you're upskilling or reskilling your workforce, and you should be, because it's hard to find good people out there, this would be one of the things you can do for your folks, is help your folks learn how to use ChatGPT to make their lives easier. So thank you so much for joining us here today. We appreciate you. And you know how to find us. Call Alameda, call CEA at 800-399-5331. We're here for you, and have a great week.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for your awesome engagement. Thank you, Eli, for being so helpful. I do have some training codes for you all if you are joining us today to earn some continuing education credits. I know how to say that word. If you can see it in the chat, those are your codes. If you cannot see the chat, it's HRCI code 640940. Your SHRM code today, 23-996QA. CEAinfo@employers.org. If you have any trouble with those or need those again, we're more than happy to help you. And last but not least, I am also dropping in, it should pop up on your screen afterward, but I'm also going to drop it in here just in case. This is a link to that survey that I mentioned, 2 to 3 minutes, but your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. And Helen has a quick question, so go ahead. You can either unmute or type it in the chat. Go ahead. Is Helen still here? Oh, yes.
So Helen had said, how do you add attachments into ChatGPT? I don't, if you mean, I think you mean, how do you load things into it? So if I'm understanding your question properly, for example, if I already have a job description on a Word document, I would do a copy on that, and then I would paste it right into that same box where I asked a question, I would paste it in there. So I would say, make this job description better, cut, paste, and feed it in. So you can feed all your data in on that. And then it will spit back something to you. Okay, good.
So cool. I think on our maybe
Go
one or
play.
two
I
trainings
encourage you
ago-
all to play and not be afraid. What'd you say?
Yeah.
Anna?
I was going to say that I feel like maybe 2 trainings ago when we had this topic that someone when you were encouraging people to give topics to look up or questions to ask ChatGPT, someone was like, explain the theory of relativity to a 6th grader. And it was fascinating, and I was like, can we try it as a 2nd grader, because even that was a lot to process. So, you know, it's kind of anything and everything, but I think the bottom line is, yeah, double triple checking using your discernment. But again, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Eli. Thank you, Natalie, for, you know, helping deliver this amazing content. Thank you again to Alameda County for sponsoring today's session. Be sure to utilize their resources and take our survey. And we hope to join you, or we hope to see you guys again for our next training, and have a good day. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.